Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of the Dropkicks and Attractions podcast. I am, of course, your host, Xander Invictus, along with my dear close personal friend and host of the show, BigBoct.
How are we doing today, everybody?
All right, so we thank you everybody for those that have already listened to the first episode, and now we get into the attractions part of the podcast, where we talk about movies, TV shows, music, sports, anything pop culture related that came out in that year. Of course, we are starting with 1993, and I figure what better way, let's start with a nice, wholesome family movie, starring probably one of the most famous wrestlers of all time. I'm talking, of course, of Hulk Hogan, and the movie I am talking about is, of course, the comedy classic, Mr. Nanny.
Well, I had not seen this movie before this, so I'm in for a surprise.
I had seen it while it was on TV a lot, and the first time I remember really watching it was TBS used to have a TV show I was a fan of called Dinner and a Movie. Kind of like how they have like the movie hosts of, they would have different vignettes and stuff in between. So what it was is they would show different movies. There was two hosts. They would show different movies, and then in between, they would make some sort of food meal or whatever that had a name synonymous, either what the dish was related to the movie or the name was related to the movie or actor somehow. And so the one night they showed Mr. Nanny, Hulk Hogan was the guest artist when he was full into his Hollywood Hulk Hogan persona, and they decided to make Hollywood Hulk Hoagies.
Clever.
Yes, and this is what the movie they showed was Mr. Nanny. So let's get right into this. Mr. Nanny came out in April 2nd of 1993, so almost April Fool's. Was directed by a gentleman named Michael Gottlieb, who people may be familiar with some of his other movies like Mannequin and A Kid in King Arthur's Court.
I know of those movies, but I haven't seen them.
Mannequin I have seen. Basically, it was there was two movies, but at least in the first one, it was about a mannequin who would come to life, and the guy who fell in love with the mannequin. This, that, and the other. It's cheesy 80s movie. It's a fun, harmless movie. There was actually a sequel, but anyway, so we'll go ahead and hop into this movie. We do see Hulk Hogan, who is playing a gentleman by the name of Sean Armstrong, and shock of all shocks, Sean is a former pro wrestler.
I never would have guessed something like that, not from Hulk Hogan.
Exactly. So we see him that he's out on a dock somewhere fishing, falling asleep, and he starts having some nightmare where he's being beat up by a bunch of professional wrestlers, and these are all real professional wrestlers.
I think I recognized the Ultimate Warrior's face paint and tassels, but that was the only one.
No, not even close. What it was Brutus the Barber Beefcake, one of Hulk Hogan's close personal friends, that was the one in the face paint, and basically his getup was what he would come to have as a couple years later as the Zodiac, which we'll get to that as we, move forward. So not only was we have Brutus the Barber Beefcake, who was basically in every Hulk Hogan movie because they're besties, we had Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Kamala, George the Animal Steel, and Alpha of the Wild Samoans. They're all beating up and stomping on poor old Sean Armstrong. But he's jostled awake because he got a fish. So he wakes up, reels the fish in, and we get the classic sight gag. It's a tiny fish.
Yeah, maybe a handspan and a half long.
Yeah, not a very big one. For all the movement he had to make for it, it wasn't very big. While he's doing that, he's approached by his old manager and owner of a struggling security firm, Bert. And Bert is played by the legendary comedian Sherman Hemsley, who I remember from The Jeffersons, and he also did a sitcom I remember watching as a kid called Amen back in the 80s. But yeah, this is Sherman Hemsley, who's always funny. Always a fan of him.
Yeah, I remember seeing him in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, he actually played George Jefferson in one of the episodes.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
So basically, Bert is Sean hasn't wrestled forever, but he still thinks he can still go. Bert offers him as a job as a bodyguard. He's like, I don't want it. I can still wrestle. Bert's like, don't be an idiot. Take the job while you can because you haven't had a match in years. And he basically holds over the fact that Bert took a bullet literally for Sean. And so that's why he's walking with a cane, which will come full circle. By the time we get to the end of the movie, we'll see what happens. It all comes full circle. But he's like, hey, I literally took a bullet for you, so you have to do this or I'll make you feel bad. So he does.
Right, from there, the scene cuts to Hogan on a motorcycle with a smooth frame change from the country road to an urban area. Those are always neat.
Yeah, but there was one thing I did notice real quick before that when he was in his little shack cooking, and he was making something out of a can. He was cooking his shit out of the can, and I like how the can actually said, "Oh, look, cooks in a can," and I'm like, no shit.
I missed that little detail.
speaking of little details, I didn't realize this until a few years ago. We're talking about where Sean's on the road riding to his job. I didn't notice this until I believe it was the Nostalgia Critic pointed it out for me. If you look while he's riding down the road by the river or the ocean, whatever, if you look in the top left corner, there's a guy literally just chucking a dog into the water, straight yeeting the dog into the ocean.
What?
Yeah, and it wasn't like, oh, here we're gonna teach good old Fido to swim. No, it's like, no, screw you, dog, yeet, and just straight chucks the dog into the water.
I missed that.
Yeah, like I've been watching the movie for years, and I didn't see it until I had it pointed out. And like I said, I believe it was the Nostalgia Critic that pointed it out. And it's one of those, once you see it, you can never unsee it again. We see Sean pulling up to this massive building to meet his new client, Alex Mason.
Right before this, we have a scene of a very nasally voiced pedantic person being focused on. Security is on full alert for any suspicious intruders, and I feel pretty confident they're going to try to stop Sean.
Yeah, and how well does that go?
It goes about as well as you might expect. Hogan notes Sean's no-sell some punches from the first guard, throws the other into the wall of the guard shack, then engages with a piece of the traffic gate, and the nasally guy, presumably Mr. Mason, sees this, and he loves it. Yeah,
which that actually is Mason, played by stage and film actor Austin Pendleton. And we also see his new head of security, Frank, played by character actor Raymond O'Connor. So while this is all going on, we get a call. Mason gets a call from a man named Tommy Thanatos, who is played by David Johansen. He wants to hey, you have this computer chip, because, it's early 90s, everything was computer chips and floppy disks. Hand it over. So Thanatos was played by, once again, I said David Johansen, who was known for being in the glam rock band, the New York Dolls, back in the day. And he was also known as Buster Poindexter, who most people familiar with that song, Hot, Hot, Hot. It was very popular in the 80s. He's like, da-da-da-da-da, everybody singing that they're hot, hot, hot. That's him.
That chorus there sounds familiar, but I'm sure I've heard it. I just can't remember it.
Oh, you've heard it, trust me. But yeah, he also helped out a lot with the music for the movie. And fun fact, with this being a family movie, I think it's also great that both Austin Pendleton and David Johansen both had small roles on the men's prison show on HBO, Oz, which is as far as a family show as you could get.
I know of the show, but again, don't know anything about it.
It's a great show. Anyways, Armstrong comes in. He's like, hey, I'm here to guard the chip. I'm here to guard you. And he's like, yeah, no, you're not. You're guarding my kids. And he doesn't want to be a babysitter. But this is a job, so he has to take it.
Right. So, yeah, Frank uses some pretty basic reverse psychology. But the kids do have a nanny. Sean just has to guard them.
Yeah, and he has Alex has two kids. Alex Jr., played by Robert Gorman, who... I didn't realize, so after the fact, was also the child actor in Leprechaun, which also came out in 93, so I'm sure we'll get to that eventually soon. And his younger daughter, Kate, playing my Madeline Zima, who I remember, well, as the youngest child in the TV show The Nanny. I was a big fan of as a kid growing up, which also came out in 1993, so a lot of 93s happening right here.
Indeed.
So, Sean goes ahead, pulls up to the house on his motorcycle. The nanny, runs out of the house. Her hair's on fire, and she dumps into the fountain that every large house has in the front. So now is he not only the bodyguard, Sean becomes the nanny, or a Mr. Nanny, if you will.
He gives Bert a call, displeased about this, but relents after Bert threatens to commit suicide.
Basically. And then, so he also almost gets his hand cut off because the maid/housekeeper, Corinne, almost cuts his hand off because he's trying to eat the pie. And Corinne was played by comedian Mother Love. I haven't seen a lot of her work, but I know she was... she basically had the role in the movie as the sassy black lady.
Yeah, at this point, she asks Sean to help putting away the groceries, and there's a visual gag with the list of nannies that Alex Jr. And his sister have driven off.
Oh, yeah. That all gets taken care of. And now we get into the big old slapstick part of this. This is a very slapsticky family movie. Sean sees a tripwire into his new bedroom. He's like, nuh-uh-uh. Steps over the tripwire, opens up the closet, and a bowling ball rolls off the top shelf and beans him right in the middle of the forehead.
Macaulay Culkin is looking at these kids and thinking, wow, I should take notes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, so now we have a concussion, fractured skull, coma, maybe he's dead. We don't know. We're 15, 20 minutes into this movie. So he wakes up. And so he goes to the bathroom to try to compose himself. Bucket of water falls on this man.
After that, we see Alex Jr. and Kate setting the traps up, and I'm pretty sure this is going to the point of, if we drive the help off, Dad will have to take care of us himself.
Yeah, that's basically the lesson of the movie. So, he finally gets through all of this, and we see how more evil these kids go. He starts going downstairs. Butter on the handrails. On top of that, another tripwire. So he tumbles down the stairs after the butter, after the tripwire, after the bowling ball. Somehow not dead yet because, it's Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan no-sells death. Goes to sit down in the dining room table, for dinner. Broken glass on the chair.
Ew, yow.
So they get around to sit down with dinner before they really get a chance to talk or, hey, how was your day, this, that, and the other. Alex Sr. pulls out a pocket fax from, I don't even want to know where he pulled that from. He has a pocket fax machine.
Yeah, I did a little research. I'm not sure if those are actually a thing or if that was just a prop.
Oh, I'm sure it was a prop because I've never seen a pocket fax. But so all of a sudden, as soon as the kid's down, he sits down. Oh, gotta go to work, kids. And you can see that the disappointment on the kid's face.
Yeah, the kids make a crack about, we'll just call your secretary next time. And yeah, they're better about how much Dad is working.
Yeah, and, Corinne actually stops and tells Sean, like, hey, their mom died a couple years ago. So basically, the help in the house are raising the kids.
That happened with me a little bit because Mom was around, but she was going to college when I was young. A good friend helped raise me and my brother.
Sure, but it was the fact that, your mom was still there. This is like, oh, I'm going to be at the office all day. Okay, time for dinner. Okay, I got to go now.
Yeah, it's not the same, just similar.
Sure. And then we finally get the full reveal of Thanatos, who has a metal dome on top of his head. He looks like a cone head almost. And then reveal that, bum, 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 who's secretly working for Thanatos?
That would be Security Chief Frank.
Security Chief Frank.
What I deduce here is that he intentionally hired someone that he hoped Mr. Mason wouldn't want.
That, or he's watching the kids because he's going to be the one, Frank's going to be the one watching the chip so he can get the chip and Thanatos can win. So we see, Sean's going in, checking in on the kids. And can we talk about the freaking Tony Stark looking workshop that Alex has in his room, please?
That was kind of really incongruous with the way the rest of the house looks.
Yeah, I'm getting some The Barn in Iron Man 3 vibes before Tony Stark took it over. This kid has everything. And, you can see that, they're talking to each other. They don't like Sean. And I'm thinking, no wonder these little assholes don't have friends. They're jerks. No wonder nobody likes them. Sean's like, hey, I'm going to go get a workout. Can we talk? I get a lot of people, athletes or just, rich people in general have home gyms in their homes. Can we talk about just how bougie this man's home gym is, please?
It looked as well stocked as a real Planet Fitness or something like that.
Yeah. And then can we also, I get, maybe you want to have a place to hang your, change your clothes, hang your jackets or whatever. Maybe the staff can use the gym even, this sort of thing. If you look in the background, how many lockers does this gym need? How many people are using this gym? It's a one-room gym, but yet there's 6-7 lockers.
It's a full-size locker room.
Yeah. For a weight bench, a couple bikes, a basic home gym. We get in there and Sean's like, hey, I'll get a little cardio before I start lifting. And I get, once again, all sight gags. I'll buy this. This is all like a sight gag slapstick movie. You can see that Alex Jr. has rigged it so Sean is strapped to the bike and has to keep going faster and faster. We notice that one of the settings on the bike, slow, medium, fast, or whatever, one of the settings is coronary.
Because that's the thing you'd want to do when you're exercising.
Yeah, I'm going to have a coronary before I lift weights. Then I get slapstick, sight gags. I get it. I'll buy it. It's just fast, medium, slow, coronary. Is able to survive this somehow because, once again, Hulk Hogan no-sells death. Is able to get off the bike. Hey, instead of leaving the gym, I'm just going to keep doing my workout. So I'm going to bench press. And then I'm doing rough guess estimate when he's doing these reps. The bar, usually, if you're using a regular size bar for bench pressing, the bar itself is 45 pounds.
Right.
He's got 4 plates on each side of this bar. Those look like they might have been 45-pound plates. So if you have 4 45-pound plates on each side, plus the 45-pound bar, you're looking at approximately 405-pound bench press.
Yeah, that's the calculation I came to as well.
Yeah, very impressive, by the way. I've never been able to do I think my max ever was like 2. So, very impressive. And then on top of that, Alex is able to sneak a massive electromagnet under the bench that for some reason Sean doesn't see. So he turns it, once Sean has the full extension on the bar, he's lifting the bar above himself. Alex turns on the electromagnet, slams the bar down on his chest. So right there's 405 pounds on your sternum.
Yeah, somehow Sean is still alive after that.
Because what's the rule, guys? Hulk Hogan no sells death. And he does his up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Plus it lands on his throat. He's dead.
Super dead.
It crushed your sternum, crushed your throat. You've been electrocuted by a bike. But he's like, you know what? Oh, I'm good. That was a good workout. So he goes to take a shower. Because you can shower death off of you, apparently. But once again, this is all in fun. It's a fun, goofy scenes. Like I said, it's a family movie.
Benefit of hindsight, I can see the fun part, but as I was watching it the first time, it just seemed really mean-spirited.
It did, but you can also, it makes sense with what you see how the kids develop later on in the movie.
Right.
So Sean goes into the bougie-ass bathroom in the locker room, and he goes to take a shower. Surprise, surprise! The shower head is rigged, so when he turns it on, it cracks him in the head, knocks him out again. Another concussion added to his list of injuries. And then can we also talk about, Hulk Hogan's a large man. Can we talk about that small-ass towel he's wrapping around his waist that looks like a washcloth?
I mean, we can talk about it. Not sure what there is to say. It's just a small towel.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm figuring, Hulk Hogan, I believe, was around 6'6", 6'7", I believe. Large man. Don't you think they would have had larger towels for a man that size?
Put it that way, yeah, that does make sense.
And on top of this, once he steps out of the shower, they electrocute him in the bathroom again. Where the hell is CFS for this?
And the best part is, immediately after this, we see Kate actually seeming to have taken a liking to him. She says to Alex Jr., he's not a goody-goody like the nannies are.
Yeah, all of this, there was just, for some reason, you get that right insult or remark that just gets you to go, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I heard the word pucker butt. So when Alex said pucker butt, I was like, that's funny. I just had to make a note for the word pucker butt. But you realize though, this is when you start really starting to feel bad for the kids. Because you realize they're doing all this because they want their dad to punish them. Because by the dad punishing them, that means he's paying attention to them.
Right, and it means he's taking time to do something for them.
Yeah, so you can honestly kind of see why they're doing it. You don't condone what they're doing, but it makes sense.
Yeah, they're trying to get their dad back from work.
Yeah. So speaking of work, we have a short scene where Frank helps Thanatos break into the office to take the chip. This is a quick little bumbling scene, and then you realize not only is the safe empty, it sets off an alarm, and it's like Frank's like, "Hey, you gotta make," because Thanatos has these goons because what evil mastermind doesn't have goons? He's like, "Hey, you gotta beat me up to make it look good so they don't think I'm in on it." So the guy this massive dude just straight rocks Frank right in the mouth.
I'll bet he slept good.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So we get into the next minor, but that all happened within the first day or two. So we go back. Sean takes the kids to school. It looks like a Rolls Royce even, but you find out the kids go to a public school. They don't go to a private school. They go to a public school because they keep getting kicked out. So they basically make Sean wear, he's in his tear-off shirts and everything because, Hulk Hogan's got muscles. They make him wear a chauffeur's cap. And they're like, look, Kate's like, look, if you don't do it, I'll scream. And he's like, fine. Hulk Hogan in his cut-off Canadian tuxedo and a chauffeur's cap.
Incongruity like that between in and outfitted, that makes me smile every time.
It was kind of cute. And then we pull up to school and we see that Alex is getting bullied at school. And Sean obviously wants to step in and, hey, what you doing, brother? But Kate's like, look, no, if you do that, it's going to get worse. So he kind of lets it go.
Yeah, I was bullied a lot growing up. You either have to do it yourself or that's it. You have to do it yourself. Otherwise, you'll get more crap for not fighting your own battles.
Oh yeah, same here. I 100% agree. It happened. But we do have a quick scene that Alex Sr. is moving the trip up because they attempted theft. We need to get the chip out of here. Who's making the arrangements for the trip? Bum, bum, bum.
It's Frank.
It's Frank. So we go around, and you notice, once this is going on, Kate is slowly starting to come around to Sean. Alex Jr. still wants to torment him, But you can see Kate's kind of like, he's a teddy bear. So far I've counted, by the way, this teddy bear I've counted has at least 3 concussions.
Oh my.
So he should be a drooling mess by now. But there was a scene where they do something and they dye the pool red. And they set up a little skateboard. Sean, help! Sean, Sean! So he runs outside, steps on the skateboard, does a little one foot on the skateboard trick, lands in the pool.
His skin becomes red from the dye.
Yeah, he looks like he just stepped out of a slasher movie. And he just loses it.
Yeah, that is the straw that broke the camel's back.
And he finally rips in all these kids for all the stupid shit they've been doing. They actually listen to him. He's like, sit down, don't move until I say so. And they listen, and I bet they... And by the time the scene comes back to him, it's dark. They had to have been sitting there at least a couple hours, not saying a word.
Yeah, Mason Sr. gets home around this point and sees the kids actually listening to Sean. And he says, I guess I was wrong about my kids not respecting anybody. And he seems kind of bitter too.
Yeah, it's like you kind of like, once you almost drown a guy in dyed water and turn him into a slasher villain, yeah, you might want to listen to that guy.
Yeah, after that, we have another quick scene of a repo man trying to take Bert's phone as he's talking to Sean about the job.
Oh yeah, this is a running joke they had throughout the movie that I forgot to mention, that, you know, basically this is Bert's last job before he owes everybody money. So every time he's talking to Sean about this, that, or the other, about the gig, you see more and more people trying to take stuff out of the house, out of the business from Bert. He's like, he owes people so much money, they're just taking all his stuff. So we get to Sean's having a workout at the gym, and Alex comes in, talks to him, and they finally have a heart-to-heart. And I really like this scene because you can tell that Sean at first didn't want to be there, but he's slowly coming around to the kids, and he has a really nice, touching heart-to-heart talk scene with Alex about, you know, I get you're getting bullied, and it sucks, but you need to stand up for yourself. And you can tell that Sean genuinely likes the kid. After everything he put him through, he genuinely likes the kid, and he wants to see the kid succeed.
Alex actually initiates and asks Sean to teach him some self-defense.
Yeah, because, you know, what you gonna do, brother? These 24-inch pythons. And so after this is done, you see, this is that moment in the movie where the kids come around, because you see Sean's finished and he walks by Kate's room and she's having trouble sleeping. And, you know, we realize that she's been having trouble sleeping ever since her mom passed away, which was a few years ago.
Yeah, she actually asks Sean to sing a song that her mom used to, and she offers to teach it to him.
And he doesn't want to. He's like, I don't know, but it's like, come on. And, you know, he finally like, fine. If it helps you, I'll sing it. So it's a really sweet scene where he learns the song to sing it to her. And Alex Sr. walks past this, and it seems to finally hit him that, you know, I've been spending too much time at work. I need to be around my kids. You see that Alex Sr. actually has this chip that they're going after, and he puts into one of Kate's dolls. And he's like, look, I have to go on a business trip. Say goodbye to the kids for me. And Sean's like, nope.
Yeah, do it yourself.
Sean's like, if you're gonna say goodbye to your kids, do it your own damn self. And Sean's like, Alex Sr.'s like, okay. And he does. And so he goes to leave, and you figure out that Frank's in the limo with him. And you realize after this is another funny, you know, sight gags, which I'm a big fan of sight gags myself.
Yeah, they're fun.
Frank has his jaw wired shut because, you know, how the goon took liberties with him. He's all bandaged up, his jaw's wired shut. He can only speak via Post-it notes.
I've seen that gag before. It's actually really funny when it's done right.
Oh yeah, and I think it was done right here in this movie. Because it wasn't overdone, because Frank wasn't exactly a big character in the movie. So when it was done, it wasn't overdone.
If we can backtrack for just a sec.
Sure.
When Senior is saying goodbye to Junior, he says, I'm going to change things. And Junior says, I can help if you'll let me. That rung with me.
For those that have grown up with that kind of stuff, it resonates.
Oh yeah, absolutely it does.
So we realize that, oh no, Alex Sr.'s being kidnapped by Thanatos in the limo, because what happened? Who was the bad guy this whole time?
The bad guy was Frank and Thanatos.
It was Frank this whole time. What?
Jaw drop.
I know, right? But no, and Alex is like, dude, what are you doing? You do realize once you've outlived your usefulness, Thanatos is going to get rid of you. And Frank's like, nah. So what happens?
Frank gets launched out of the car in an ejector seat.
Yep, and we never see Frank again. Bye, Frank!
Thanks for being in the movie.
Thank you. So while this is going on, Bert comes over to help Sean to, you know, check in on it and see how things are going. It's going to help him out. And Sean actually, we get the story of how Bert got shot in the leg. So we find out that obviously Sean was a wrestler and he wanted somebody wanted the match to be thrown that he was in. And who was this man to want the match thrown so he can make money?
Tommy Thanatos.
Tommy Thanatos. Full circle. And after, can we talk about Thanatos' Phil Spector looking amazing hair for this scene?
I loved that look.
It was great. Once again, sight gags are hilarious when done right. And I figure this movie really did sight gags and slapstick really well.
Yeah, there's a crack later on that Thanatos fell off of a roof and it would have killed him, but his hair cushioned the fall.
Yeah, this is that scene, actually. So, they tease him about that hair. So Thanatos pulls out a gun and shoots at Sean, but Bert jumps in front of the bullet. So this is where Bert literally took the bullet.
Right.
So Sean chases him on the roof after a short fight. Remember, this is going on in the locker room, so you got to imagine that this is going on while the show's still going on, by the way. You have to assume. So they make it to a roof. They have a short fight. Thanatos falls headfirst into a nearby swimming pool, but the pool's empty.
Right, and then that's where the line is.
Yep, and that's the only thing that saved him was the hair. He still cracked his skull, but that's also why he has the metal dome on his head. It's keeping all the gooey stuff inside. So, but you also see that Alex was, we go to the next day where Bert and Sean are taking Alex and Kate to school. And you saw that Alex was working on something. He didn't show anything yet, but Bert's like, hey, I'm going to help you with this bully. So, Sherman Helmsley wasn't a large gentleman, but is able to pull out brass knuckles, a blackjack, mace, and a massive lead pipe out of his pants to be like, here, do you want these? Here, look, this can help with a bully. Try this. Once again, sight gags. Just the fact that he pulled out a gigantic lead pipe out of his pants.
Indeed, that was one of the better ones.
So he goes up to, so we see what happened. The kids go up to Alex, the bullies, and he's like, look, we want your wallet, take your wallet. And he's like, sure, fine. Here's my wallet. Wink. And as soon as they open it, that kid just takes one of the biggest, most massive electric shocks ever. He's probably dead.
Alex using the electroshock device we saw him use on Sean in the shower.
But you kind of see that Sean and Bert kind of almost feel like proud papas. They're like, my dude, he's using his powers for good now. And I thought that was a nice scene. That's the scene where it's like everything flips. This is the part of the movie where everything flips. So we go back to Thanatos' at his hideout. He's getting his dome buffed. We see this happen a few times throughout the movie. He's getting buffed and shined his dome. Because, you want to look your best.
Always.
Alex Sr. is being tortured by being dunked in some water. And can I say that this is some of the milkiest water I've ever seen in a movie?
Yeah, that looked really ugly.
Ugh. So he's basically like, to his credit, he's not budging where the chip is. Which we know he put in one of Kate's stuffed animals. But he's not budging. He's like, look, I'm not telling you. And he's like, look, if you don't tell me, I'm going after your kids. Which, we get to that scene, which is probably, I would say, the most famous scene in the movie. This is where a lot of the pictures and the clips of the movies come from, because we see Sean is having a tea party with Kate and talking about, hey, dance with me, ballerina. He's like, look, I was a klutz. How much of a klutz? And he talked about how the kids used to tease him and bully him when he was little. And that's why he decided to get big and strong and muscular, because he didn't want to get bullied anymore. So you can see why that moment where he sees that Alex is getting bullied, I think that was the moment in the movie where he was like, he saw himself in those kids, or at least specifically in Alex, so he wanted to do what he could to help the kids, so he was less likely to kill them after that point.
Yeah, when you see someone in a situation you've been in, you instinctively want to help them through it.
So yeah, it was a combination of that and the pool, where they both had a mutual understanding. The three of them each had a mutual understanding. So, and this is the scene, like I said, this is the famous scene where she shows, he's like, I don't know how to do all this fancy stuff, I'm just a guy. So not only does she teach him how to do the whole pinky with a teacup thing, she puts him in a leotard and a tutu, which I don't know how. She's a little girl. Little girls had the tutus and the leotards when they were kids. I get it. Why does she have a Hulk Hogan-sized leotard and tutu?
Because the Kool-Aid Man is red.
Exactly. Because purple tastes like pancakes, that's why. So, Bert and Alex are hanging out. They're bonding because you can see how they're kind of similar too. So you can see how Bert and Alex become besties basically for the most part.
Yeah, I saw that.
I kind of like their relationship. I like too. So they go downstairs chatting, joking around, and they run into Kate and Sean in their ballet tights. And this was kind of a really nice funny moment where it was like, this is that moment. So after that, here comes all of Thanatos' goons coming to take the children.
Door literally gets blown open and fight scene ensues.
While in a tutu, Sean puts up a fight, because you know the parts of the movie where the main goons can fight up until a certain point in the movie. They can still fight, so Sean gets his butt kicked. Not only are the kids taken hostage, they take Bert as well. So Alex is able to call Sean and tell him about one of the inventions to bring, where everyone's held hostage. So this is where we go from Mr. Nanny to straight on frickin' Thunder in Paradise. Sean arrives at the pier, dock pier, sneaks in.
Yeah, he puts that electrified wallet to good use here in this sequence.
Exactly. This is where we get into this, where he takes out 3 guys on the pier easily, and he commandeers a speedboat, and he uses a goon to basically become his GPS, which I guess that's what the G in GPS stands for, goon positioning system. And then as soon as he gets to the hideout, he just gets rid of the goon. Like I said, this is very Thunder in Paradise-esque. And now we get into the climactic fight scene, where all of a sudden Sean can beat up everybody now, because we know the rules, guys. Hulk Hogan no sells death. If that's the one thing you can take away from this movie, it's that line.
I will never doubt that again.
Thank you. So, a nuclear apocalypse, there's going to be 3 things left in the world. Twinkies, cockroaches,
and Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. So, once again, it's a fight scene, but it's a family-friendly fight scene. There's not a lot of broken bones, blood, death. Everybody gets beat up and then thrown off screen. Basically, it comes down to one-on-one to Sean and Thanatos. And Thanatos, funny, is using his head. He's basically using the metal dome to headbutt Sean, and he's taking over the fight for this.
Right.
So Alex Jr. and Sr. work together. This is that moment where he says he wants to work with his dad. They use the superconductor that they make. They make a superconductor and attach Thanatos' head to it, swinging him around and around and around and fling him out of the skylight. And the only thing left of Thanatos is the metal dome. Which you gotta imagine, if all the gooey bits were left, can you just imagine being showered by that stuff while you're looking up in the sky and it just starts splattering you in the face while this guy flies through the air?
No, thank you.
Everybody hugs it out. We win. Sean just, we get to that typical sentimental ending. Sean leaves. We also see that Bert is now the head of security, and he's cozied up nice with Corinne the maid. So apparently they're an item now. So, good for them.
Indeed.
So, and I like how, beginning of the movie, the kids wanted to do the pranks because they wanted Sean to leave. Now they're doing the pranks because they want Sean to stay. They attach a cable to his motorcycle and fling him off. And what's funny is that as Sean flies over the motorcycle and you see the freeze frame of him in midair, you can actually still see the wires that are attached to Hulk Hogan.
That is a great still frame to end the movie on.
Yeah, it was like I said, this was a harmless movie. It's a fun movie. Would I watch this again if I found it on TV or I got the inkling? Absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, it seemed a little mean-spirited in the early going for me, but as it progressed, I really found myself enjoying it.
Yeah, and we never promote pirating movies, so you can actually find this on. Well, you can either find it on DVD and spend $40-$50 on a DVD copy because it's out of print. I actually had to go on eBay to find mine for $20. But you can also rent it on Amazon Prime. I think we paid, $2 to rent it?
Yeah, something like that. Nice and cheap.
Nice and cheap. It's a good, like I said, it's a good family-friendly movie. You guys like Hulk Hogan. You guys like slapstick and sight gags. It's, like I said, it's harmless. But the most important thing, did this movie make money? So I have the numbers right here. We're going to play a little game with BigBoct right here. Going to give you a little bit of some tidbits and see if you can figure out how much money this movie made. So, first off, the budget was $10 million.
Okay.
No international release, theatrically. How much money did this movie make? Let's see how close you were.
Did it make its money back?
No.
Okay, so that was $10 million budget. Didn't make that. $5 million?
Nope.
$3 million?
Nope.
$2 million?
No, you're going in the wrong direction.
2.5?
Higher. One more guess.
275?
Wrong. It made $4.2 million in the box office.
Oh.
This movie did not make money. But it's one of those you'll see on TV all the time. Or, like I said, you can rent it on Amazon for $2. But no, like I said, I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's one of those movies you're like, yeah, Mr. Nanny's on, I'll watch it for 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's absolutely harmless.
If you watch it for what it is, if you're watching it expecting a classic movie. Is it even a classic comedy? No. But is it one of those if you're bored and you want to watch it and it's harmless, you can turn your brain off and watch it? Yeah, 100%, absolutely, I'd watch it.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's a brain turn offer. So, once again, thank you everybody for coming out to episode 2 of Dropkicks and Attractions. For those, we'll go ahead and give you the upcoming schedule for the next few episodes. The next episode, episode 3, which we go back into our wrestling, is going to be Monday Night Raw of January 18th, 1993, the last Raw, the go-home show before the Royal Rumble 1993, and WCW Saturday Night of January 23rd, 1993, and episode 4, which was our next pop culture episode, we will be talking about the Bill Murray classic, Groundhog Day.
Well, actually, this is another one I hadn't seen prior to watching it for this.
Surprisingly, I haven't either, and this is a movie right up my alley. We will be talking about, the next episode will be Royal Rumble 1993. When we do pay-per-views, we give them their own dedicated episode. And when we come to you after that, just so you know, we don't just do family-friendly movies or comedies. We will be doing a movie that's a personal favorite of mine, not for the kids, True Romance.
And I do not know the first thing about that movie.
Directed by Tony Scott. Written by Quentin Tarantino. This was written before he even directed movies. He wrote True Romance. Not for kids, but it's still a fantastic movie. This has got Gary Oldman, Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, James Gandolfini. There's a great scene with Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken. I mean, this movie is stacked.
Alrighty, that's a star-studded cast. I'm looking forward to experiencing it.
Absolutely. You can find the podcast on Twitter at capital D and capital A Podcast 1. You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Hover. Excuse me. Basically anywhere you can find most social media, you can find me at Xander Invictus.
And I can be found at BigBoct on most socials as well.
So once again, thank you everybody for coming to episode 2 of Dropkicks and Attractions, and we will see you next week.
Take care.